Hey everyone, before we dive into tonight's story, if you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button and subscribe to help this channel grow. If you're listening on the phone, consider hyping the video. It really helps these stories reach a wider audience, and I'd love to know where you're all listening from. So drop your location down below. Without further ado, let's get into the story. There's a sound you never stop hearing when working on an oil rig. It's a low hum. A vibration that travels up through your steel-toed boots, passes through your knees, and lodges itself at the base of your skull. It is in fact the routine drone of 3 house-sized diesel generators, of mud pumps working at colossal pressure, and of the drill bit grinding rock kilometers below. You learn to sleep with this sound. You learn to eat while hearing it. The real trouble begins when the sound stops. My name is Elias. I am a senior drilling engineer on the Vanguard 7 platform. We are anchored 280 miles off the Brazilian coast, on the frontier of the pre-salt layer, in an area geology calls the unmapped abyssal zone. The Vanguard is no ordinary rig. It is an ultra-deep-water unit, a floating city of rusted steel and cutting-edge technology, supported by 4 colossal columns descending into the blue darkness. We've been here for 6 months. The mission was simple: reach a theoretical oil pocket detected by seismic satellites, a reserve so deep no one had the courage or the stupidity to try reaching before. We tried, and God help us, we succeeded. It all started 3 days ago during the graveyard shift. I was in the control cabin, monitoring the drill telemetry. We were at 9,000 meters depth. We had passed the salt layer. We had passed the bedrock. The monitor showed the rock resistance: 100, 100, 100, and then 0. The resistance dropped to 0 in a microsecond. The drill string, weighing tons, jolted forward as if it had fallen into an empty hole. "Loss of circulation," shouted Chagas, the mud operator. "Pressure dropped. We're losing fluid." "Pull back the drill," I ordered, slamming the emergency button. "Close the BOP." The BOP, blowout preventer, is a giant valve on the seafloor designed to shear the pipe and seal the well if pressure explodes. It is our only defense against a disaster. But there was no explosion, no gas rising. There was only suction. The crane's tension gauge spiked. The drill string wasn't loose. Something was pulling it down. The entire platform groaned, steel twisting, the horizon tilted 2 degrees. "What the hell is that?" Chagas was pale. "Are we snagged?" "No." I looked at the monitors. The bit is still turning, but the torque reading is insane. It's like we're drilling through rubber. We fought the machine for 2 hours. Finally, the tension gave way. We managed to pull the string back. When the bit reached the surface, at the moon pool in the center of the rig, we expected to see the bit destroyed, diamond teeth shattered by granite. But the bit was intact, covered in a substance. It wasn't oil. Oil is black, brown, or golden. It smells of hydrocarbons. The thing covering the bit was violet. A thick, bioluminescent slime that pulsed slightly under the industrial floodlights.
And the smell. It didn't smell like fuel. It smelled of copper, of iron. It smelled like warm blood, and underneath that, a scent of lilies rotting in the sun. "What is this?" asked Mateus, the intern geologist. He approached, fascinated, a scraper in hand. "Some kind of compressed algae?" "Don't touch that, kid," I warned. "Biohazard protocol." But Mateus was fast. He scraped a piece of the slime onto a plate. The substance moved. It didn't flow. It contracted, fleeing the metal of the scraper, and clustered in the center of the plate, vibrating. "It's alive," whispered Chagas. We took the sample to the lab. Meanwhile, the atmosphere on the platform changed. The sea, which had been rough with 3-meter waves, standard for this region, began to calm. Not just calm. It stopped. Within an hour, the Atlantic Ocean turned into a mirror. No waves, no foam. A sheet of black glass extending to infinity. The sky turned cloudy, but there was no wind.
The company flag atop the derrick stopped fluttering. The silence of the sea was wrong. The ocean breathes. The ocean never stops. But in that moment, it did. I went to the lab to see Matthias's analysis. I found the kid sitting on the floor, staring at the electron microscope. He was shaking. "Elias," he said, without looking at me, "this isn't oil. It isn't a fossil." "What is it?" I asked. "It's blood plasma. Copper-based hemoglobin. White blood cells the size of tennis balls." He turned his chair. His face was bathed in sweat. "Elias, we didn't drill a well. We drilled a vein." I laughed nervously. "Don't be ridiculous. A vein at 9,000 meters depth? Of what? Godzilla?" I was joking. Matthias didn't laugh. "The volume, based on the pressure we measured when the bit broke the barrier. The systolic pressure. Elias, the body this belongs to is the size of a continent." The gas alarm blared. It wasn't methane. It was the hydrogen sulfide sensor, deadly and corrosive. I ran to central control. "Where's the leak?" I shouted. "It's not an internal leak," the radio operator replied. "It's coming from outside. It's coming from the water." I went out to the deck. The water around the platform had changed color. The deep black had given way to a milky, iridescent purple. The slime was rising from the hole we made, spreading across the surface like an oil slick, but glowing with its own light. And there were bubbles. Gigantic bubbles breached the surface with a wet, obscene sound. With every bubble that burst, a yellowish mist spread. "Masks!" I ordered over the PA. "Everyone on respirators, now!" We spent the next 12 hours locked inside the habitat modules. The air filtration system was working at maximum, but that sweet metallic smell seeped through the filters. That was when the strange behavior started. Chagas, a man who had worked at sea for 30 years, tough as nails, started crying in the galley. "It's awake," he repeated, rocking back and forth. We pricked it. We woke it up. "Who, Chagas?" I asked. "The bottom, the floor. It's not a floor. It never was a floor. It's skin." I tried to call for help. The radio was dead. Pure static. The satellite phones had no signal. We were isolated. At 03:00 a.m. on the second day, the platform shook. It wasn't a wave. It was an impact coming from below. I ran to the bridge window. The floodlights illuminated the purple water. And I saw it. Rising from the water, clinging to one of the platform's support columns, was something. It looked like a crab, but it was white, translucent, and the size of a van. It had no eyes, just long antennae feeling the rusted metal of the column. And it wasn't alone. There were dozens of them. Hundreds. Swarming up Vanguard's legs like lice crawling up an arm. "What are those things?" shouted the commander, a Norwegian named Larson. "Antibodies," came Matthias's voice from behind us. The kid was at the bridge door holding a flare. "We are the infection," Matthias said with a sad smile. "We pierced the skin. We injected metal and toxic mud. The organism is reacting. It sent the white blood cells to clean the wound." "Clean the wound?" I asked. "We are the wound, Elias." One of the antibodies reached the main deck. I watched through the security cameras as it crushed a steel container like aluminum foil. The claws weren't made of bone. They looked like crystal or diamond. It grabbed a crew member who hadn't made it to the shelter. The man screamed as he was torn in half. There was no blood. The crab didn't eat the man. It just crushed him and tossed the pieces into the sea like someone wiping away dirt. They were sterilizing the area. "We have to abandon the rig," Larson screamed. "To the lifeboats." "No," I grabbed his arm. "Look outside. The boats are 30 meters above the water. If we lower them, those things will grab the cables. And if we fall into the water, into that slime." "Then what do we do?" he asked. "We fight," I said, though I didn't believe it. What followed was a nightmare of metal and screams.
We armed ourselves with whatever we had. Fire axes, flare guns, iron bars. But how do you fight a planet's immune system? They invaded the drill floor. They toppled the derrick. The sound of twisting steel was deafening. The platform was being dismantled piece by piece. I ran to the BOP control room. I had a plan. A stupid, suicidal plan. If that was a vein, if we were causing pain, maybe we could staunch the bleeding. I would shear the pipe at the seabed and seal the hole with cement. Maybe if we stopped pricking the thing, the reaction would stop. The path to the BOP control was infested. I saw Chagas get taken. He didn't run. He walked toward one of the white monsters, arms open. "I am the virus," he shouted. "Cure me!" The creature's claw closed around his head. I reached the control room. I locked the armored steel door. I heard claws scraping outside. The metal was giving way. I went to the panel. The system was offline. Main power had been cut when the derrick fell. Shit. I need emergency power. The auxiliary generator was in the module's basement. I had to go down. The corridor was dark, lit only by red emergency lights. The floor was tilted. The platform was sinking. One of the support pillars must have already given way. I reached the generator. Purple slime was leaking through the vents. The smell was so strong I retched every 2 steps. I cranked the manual starter. The engine coughed and caught. The lights flickered. The BOP panel lit up. I ran back to the screen. Well pressure, critical. Connection status, unstable. I put my hand on the button. I hesitated. If I did this, the drill string would be cut. The well would be sealed. But what if Mateus was right? What if this was a conscious entity? Would it understand that we stopped, or would it continue until it eliminated the last trace of us? The control room door exploded. One of the antibodies entered. It was beautiful, in a terrible way. Translucent, glowing with internal light, visible organs pulsing blue. It didn't roar. It just clicked its mandibles. I pressed the button. I felt the vibration in the floor. Down below at 9,000 meters, 2 hardened steel blades sheared the drill pipe and closed the valve. The flow of blood stopped. The creature stopped. It raised its antennae. It seemed to listen. Outside, the noise of destruction lessened. The platform stopped shaking. The creature looked at me. Its eyeless sensors focused on my beating chest. It took a step back, then another. It turned and left the room. I ran to the window. They were retreating. Hundreds of white creatures were descending the platform legs, returning to the purple sea. They dove and disappeared. The blood in the water began to dissolve, dissipating in the current. We sat in silence for hours. The platform was ruined. Listing 15 degrees, no derrick, no main power. Half the crew was dead, but we were alive. The body of that thing had stopped the immune response. At dawn, rescue arrived. Navy helicopters. They saw the destruction. They saw the crushed bodies. But we lied. It was a silent pact among the survivors. It was a gas explosion, Larson said. A giant methane bubble. The structure collapsed. And the bodies torn in half. The falling derrick, the pressure. No one mentioned the purple blood. No one mentioned the white crabs. Because if we told the truth, they would come back. The company would come back. They would bring bigger drills, weapons. They would try to harvest the blood. And if you try to kill a planet, the planet kills you back. I was retired on disability, post-traumatic stress. I live inland now, Minas Gerais. We thought the Earth was a rock covered in water and life. We were wrong. The Earth is the organism. We are just the bacteria living on the husk. And I know that somewhere in the ocean the wound has healed, but the scar remains, and she knows where we are. She knows we are parasites, and I am terrified of the day she decides to take an antibiotic. Because I saw her white blood cells, and they don't stop until the infection is eradicated.